Good morning and welcome to Ask the Expert, a daily series from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. Ask any questions today in the comments below or hashtag QBATE on Twitter. Now, if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. QuickBooks also has a dedicated information site to help you coming out of lockdown. Now, just go over to the QuickBooks website, scroll down a little bit, and click on the big Learn More button underneath the header Support for you and your business during COVID 19. Now, to introduce myself, I'm Shoaib Aslam. I'm a practicing chartered accountant, qualified from PricewaterhouseCoopers, the Big Four. I have come on Ask the Expert previously, so those of you watching may recognize me from earlier events. Now, I've gone into business almost 12 years ago. I head up the accountancy practice in London. We're also QuickBooks Pro advisors. I run a number of other successful businesses as well, including e-commerce. And so essentially, my specialism lies in helping businesses with all aspects of growth and productivity. Um, some of the things that I'll be covering today are stuff like what kind of softwares should we be using in order to perhaps become more efficient, or the integration element between different platforms to become more productive. Um, Obviously, as we know, there has been recent government announcements. I think it was on the 8th of July, Rishi made an announcement to help with further government funding and incentives out there for small businesses. One of them, I think it's been on the hot radar recently, has been the reduced VAT scheme for the hospitality and the tourism sector. Now, this essentially starts as of 15th of July, well, some point this month, until January of next year. That just means previously, when we were filing the VAT return for our clients or as businesses for the hospitality and tourism sector at 20%, it's now reduced to 5. That's obviously going to help a lot. So that means obviously we can charge a lot less, making our prices a lot more competitive to the end consumer. Now, at the same time, there's government incentives out there for the furlough scheme, as we know, for employees being employed, but still on the furlough scheme until January of next year. There are further incentives there as well. Now, what I really want to discuss today is obviously, we've been talking about COVID-19 for the last few months. I know, a few times when I've spoken on air on for Intuit, and we focused on the BBL loans and the CBILS loans and various other incentives out there. But what's really important is, as we now come out of the lockdown, and as you know, from 4th of July of this year, a lot of businesses have reopened. So there's a lot of ease down, and it's important how we now consider how can we come out of COVID-19 much stronger than we actually went into. One of the things is to invest into tools. Now, for instance, we as an accountancy practice, we invested a lot in our cloud-based solutions. It just meant in March of last year, March of this year, we just literally had to close our laptops and start working from home. That just meant huge amounts of productivity because we could communicate with our staff members, but it also meant that there was further reduced costs because a lot of people using old backdated servers, essentially a loss of security. They had to go there, take backups, had to go on to further VPNs, and further, it was just chaotic for certain businesses. Now we've got thousands of clients. I've certainly seen a lot of clients being affected, and I think it's so important that you take that online aspect to further help your businesses. It's also important we invest into OCR technology now, optical character recognition, and again, if there are elements where we can become a lot more productive, whether that's for bookkeeping purposes or whether that's for productivity, it certainly helps. With OCR, you can take a picture of a receipt and invoice. It can upload that into your online accounting solution, which means it reduces the cost of your accountant because they're not really having to do much work. But it also means live results as well, so you don't need to wait months and months to see how your profit and loss account appears. It's also important to look at, are you investing into the right CRMs? That's really, really important. Now, that's something that at Pearl Accountants, obviously, we look at very carefully when a client, approaches us, because we want to know, well, actually, you've got an e-commerce platform you're using, for instance, Shopify. Have you linked that to a CRM in the backend? Have you linked that to your accounting solution? Such as QuickBooks or a stock management solution. And what we try and do is bridge all that information together. That's really important. Once you start bridging that information, it just, you can see live results, and at the same time, you can actually do a lot of crazy stuff with that data, because it's, first of all, you can segment that in a CRM. So if you're looking at the likes of Salesforce or Infusionsoft, and there's many out there, or HubSpot, and what you could do is, once you've got that data, you can segment, you can send them further questionnaires as feedback forms. And that's really, really important to be able to look at that and say, actually, I've got that data. What can I be doing in order to further market my product? You could also be installing, various other things on your e-commerce platform to begin with, such as a Pixel. Now, I work with a lot of businesses. I run a number of other businesses as well. And what I've realized is one of the best rates of return is having a Facebook Pixel on your website, and retarget that back on Facebook, and it's pretty cost effective, and actually you're retargeting those customers that have generally come on your website. Now, that might have been through PPC or various other organic traffic, but it just means that your cost per click has shot down, and statistically speaking, obviously that increases your conversion rate as well. So there's a lot of things to consider when for instance, you're looking at elements to be able to become much more productive. Like I said, there are a lot of tools. You've got Shopify, you've got BigCommerce. Salesforce is not so popular. I mean, it is quite expensive, around starting at £150,000 a year, or a percentage of your turnover. But it's really important, if you are in the e-commerce industry, or you've got a website, you look at these tools and have these trackers on your website to give you a better understanding of how well you are doing as a business. Now, one of the other things that I love personally is Zapier. I think as a small business, it would immensely help you if you look at tools like Zapier, where you can bridge, for instance, to QuickBooks, to various other applications. Now, some of these have a built-in application, and you normally go onto the integrations element, and you think, oh, brilliant, it's there. Now, if it's not there, a quick hack is looking at Zapier or automate.io, and that's a brilliant tool as well, and that can really help you get a lot of efficiency in your businesses. It is really, really important that you look at various other platforms that you can link your, for example, accounting solutions such as QuickBooks to reporting tools in order to make the best decisions for your businesses. Now, one of them is Futurally. You've got Fathom Reporting, Spotlight Reporting, to name a few. And what they allow you to do is to actually communicate that data to these platforms. And what you could do is make scenario-based examples. For instance, if you're about to buy a premises in the next 6 months, and you want to go out there and you think, actually, what knock-on effect will that have on my cash flow? Now, you can either get an accountant and pay them, a lot of money, and say, I want this reporting features, and they'll probably have a monthly retainer, or you could use these applications yourself, which are brilliant. Now, our clients, we obviously, with all our clients, we encourage them to be able to go out and explore these tools if they can reduce that cost. And I think that's really, really important because during these challenging times, it is a DIY model at the moment. A lot of businesses are trying to make do with the situation, and I think that's really, really important. That if you need to, and you can wear those many hats for now, because the better understanding you have of various other aspects of businesses, the better business or entrepreneurs you'll make. I remember when I started off almost 12 years ago. I started off with a second-hand desk, which was about £10. I had no idea about IT. I couldn't connect my printer to my laptop. And today, we've got bots. I've worked on artificial intelligence. I've worked on SEO. I worked on a number of other aspects which most businessmen wouldn't have explored. And that's because having run more than X number of businesses, it does sharpen you. So don't be afraid. Knowledge is key, and take this time to be able to make yourselves much stronger. Now we've got loads of questions coming in, a lot of interesting questions as well. So I'm going to head it over to one of the questions from Sylvia from Facebook Messenger. Obviously, she's mentioned, have you seen many MTD filings? How easy is it to do? Well, first of all, MTD requires an initial registration, which we can do for you, Sylvia. The process, again, is something. There's two elements to that. One is registering as an agent. One is as a business. You can go out there. It's fairly easy to go onto the HMRC website and register your business for becoming MTD compliant. What you will need to do, however, is have a digital system to be able to file those MTD information to HMRC. A tool, for example, you could do that from HMRC. You could do that with QuickBooks, the platform that we're talking about today, and there's various other options out there. There are obviously accountants there that do offer an MTD compliant software within your accounting solution. I know we certainly do. Or you could go straight to QuickBooks or many other platforms and explore those options. Now, it is important that you look at a solution that is future-proof. I know for all of my businesses, I've put them onto QuickBooks, particularly because I've done all that research. I've looked at all the competitors. QuickBooks is a great solution. It is, again, cost effective. In my opinion, I think it's cost effective. There are cheaper solutions and there are more expensive solutions, but I personally think, being able to talk to other solutions out there, having that investment, from its US parent company, they are investing a lot into the platform, which means, a few years ago I was at the conference and they were talking about how you can go into a shop and start buying stuff and speaking to Siri, and Siri will automatically make that investment. It's great to be part of that journey because in the future, if one platform was to invest more than the other, well, it's a cash rich platform. So it is an evergreen solution out there. I think, having said that, look up about 3 to 5 platforms and choose the right one for your business industry. We've also got another question here from Hakan from Instagram. It's a direct message. Hakan's mentioned, hello Shoaib, we're a small business that does outdoor activities like paintballing. Oh, interesting. I was just thinking about going paintballing last week. So we're wanting to reduce costs but not let any of our staff go. Okie dokie. What good ways do you think there are at reducing costs? Now, obviously, you've got labor. If we were to analyze the paintballing industry, obviously you've got the premises, you've got the rent. They pretty much your fixed costs, and then you've got the labor. Now that's a variable cost. I think if there is a decline in that service for now, and which will be perhaps, I think you've got the furlough scheme out there. That's a good option to be looking at. Again, if you were to keep those employees furloughed until January of next year, as you know, with Rish's announcement on the 8th of July, he's mentioned there is a £1,000 government incentive to keep those employees employed until that time. So that's one of the good things that you can be looking at in terms of reducing your costs. I would look at, do you have any fixed marketing costs for now, which perhaps aren't bringing in that rate of return investment that you expected, and can you hold them back? I'd also look at perhaps marketing your website a lot more, because at the end of the day, that's where the industry is moving towards. So look at other options out there that can make your business a bit more future proof in the long term. We've got more questions coming up. Fernando from Twitter, it's a direct message. He's mentioned, good morning. What kind of cloud-based solutions have you been using at Pearl Accountants? Very, very good question, Fernando. We've probably used or currently using over 15 different solutions last time I counted, and they range from a proposal solutions where clients join us. We want our clients to be able to have the best red carpet experience, so that they can go out, and have a look at our proposal, be able to electronically sign that. We initially take the full, the payment from at the point of engagement. We think that works really well, reduces our clients' time, and we then have another CRM, and that links with all our. So that's our mother CRM, which then talks to our practice management solution, where we keep clients' data. Our clients can go in, and it allows them to be able to see loads of different forms that are being submitted for them, or any upcoming deadlines. So we love technology, and again, I'm sure most of our clients do. When we've given them the access to our cloud solutions, it just means they're a lot more in control. And again, we use other platforms as well for marketing. So yeah, I mean, from from marketing tools to productivity tools to bots, and uh, the list is quite huge. And I think that's really important when you're launching a business or you've got an established business. Try and visualize the different elements of your business and say, how can I connect one platform to another? Is there a administrator who's currently looking after that? Is there a dogmatic process that I can automate, and become more efficient? And that is so important in reducing costs for now. But we've got questions coming up. Duke from Twitter, it's a direct message. Hi, it's fantastic news to learn that more and more businesses are allowed to reopen. During lockdown, our bookstore actually saw an increase in sales by 50%. Congrats, that's good news. It certainly is. I'm hoping you can offer any advice you have and how we can maintain that growth. Now, I'm assuming, obviously, during the lockdown, your business and the bookstore was the reason it saw an increase was because of the online traffic. And assuming that, obviously, I think if you're promoting that business locally online through PPC or various directories, whether it's national, think about scaling that business up. Now, you've got a beautiful business model. Remember, that's how Amazon started, with the books and various other items. Is there a niche that you're hitting? Is there something that's unique about your business? Is there something that you can be doing? Are you using the right CRM behind your bookstore to I know, for example, Einstein product in Salesforce, working with product, it looks at your website and says, actually, a customer's gone onto your website, he's spent this long, the next time he comes around, do we want to show him another page that converts more, because, for instance, there was a huge bounce rate the first time round, or shall we show them more products? Now, if that has a knock-on effect of, say, 10% more conversion, well, what impact will that have on your turnovers? And I think it's stuff like that that you need to be looking at, which could have a huge knock-on effect on your overall turnover. So that's from the marketing aspect. Also think about CRMs, productivity, make sure all the applications are there. And obviously you're in the bookstore industry, so think about different platforms out there, Kindle and Apple. I've launched a book on Amazon earlier this year. Quite an interesting book actually, and I'll mention that here now because we're talking about productivity, and it's how what most successful accountancy owners won't tell you, and that's it all talks about productivity. It all talks about how I've managed to upscale our accountancy practice, having started almost 12 years ago, and things that I've learned. We started using Zapier than most accountants I have ever heard of, and that was almost 6 to 8 years ago. And we're using bots in our industry, and given the number of other businesses that I run, one of the reasons why it's helped me become ahead of the game is because we've invested into that technology. So it is stuff like that which I think you need to be considering. We can certainly have a chat with you. Last week I was helping one of the clients actually look at all this aspect and say, actually, what's your budget? Where do you want to be in those 6 to 12 months and 3 years time? So I think there's a lot that you could be doing, Duke, for your bookstore, and have a look at the things that we've discussed. We've got more questions coming on. We've got a question from Felix from Facebook Messenger. He's mentioned, hi, what are the benefits of using Shopify? What is it exactly? We run an electronics shop and looking at setting up an online store. Very, very good question. I would say, first of all, Shopify is an e-commerce platform. You don't need a separate website developer. You can get everything done on Shopify. You can sell those products. You can take payments. There's a lot you can do. There's various plugins that you can have. I personally, I'm not a big fan of Shopify. I think it depends on your business model. I think depending on your business, on the electronics shop, I think it's a competitive market. I think there's loads of other people doing that. I wouldn't look at, certain aspects. That's not to say, I'm against Shopify. I think it's a brilliant platform. I think for SEO purposes, Shopify isn't number one out there. I think, depending on your budget, if you're a small to medium-sized businesses, I would rather go with WooCommerce, pay a website developer a one-off cost, and actually go and use the WooCommerce plugin. Now, there's no monthly cost associated with that, which means once you've developed the website, you can customize it how you like. With Shopify, there are certain restrictions, but it's a DIY model. So it depends, what you want initially. Do you want to hit the ground running? Then Shopify is the best tool out there. If you're thinking long-term and SEO and really investing into that and you want a lot more control, WooCommerce is a good platform. BigCommerce is good as well, but it is pretty expensive. You've got a few other platforms to consider. Otherwise, yeah, Shopify I think could work, and it can, because it's cloud based. It can speak to a lot of other applications as well. WooCommerce can as well, but through Zapier, and that's something you'll need to look into. Now, we've got more questions coming on, and we've got a question from George from Facebook Messenger. Hi there, what kind of incentives are there for the updated furlough scheme? And, again, this is an exciting time for most businesses because obviously there is continued support. Now, obviously, we know UK employees will receive a one-off bonus of £1,000 for each furloughed employee who's still employed as of 31st of January 2021. Now, to get the bonus, employees must pay the affected employee at least £520 each month. If you like to get a bit more information on that, George, obviously, get in touch. I'll be sharing my contact details towards the end of the session. We've got a message here from Jay on Twitter. It's a direct message. Hi there. What are your top inspirations in business, and why? Sorry, who are your top inspirations in business and why? Um, I suppose when I started into business, I was looking at the likes of Richard Branson and Bill Gates. I think as I matured, I understood, and I've been in business now for almost 15 years, so I very carefully understood actually, you know, yes, they are my inspirations and people I look up to, but there are certain people who actually give back to the community, and so do they. We've got. Well, I understand, obviously, they've got huge trusts, but there are certain people who do that much more, given the percentage of wealth and what they're doing in society. And I think for me, it's always been, well, I want to make it high and I want to make it big, and I have, and I've run a number of businesses, but I think in the very long term, I think personally, I'm now looking up to people who are giving a lot more to society, and that's something I'm looking forward to doing in the next 5 to 10 years, certainly in my life. Um, so interesting question there, Jay. We've got a question here from Kit from Twitter direct message. Morning, Shoaib. When you started out, did you draft a business plan? How important do you think it is to have a business plan, and where do you start? Look, Kit, it's a brilliant question. A lot of people get bogged down into business plan. I think it depends on your business model. I think it also depends on your business acumen. If you know you've got the right business acumen, you've got the right suppliers, you've got the right contacts, and you can visualize that, then I think that's brilliant. That's so important to be able to visualize how your business is. List down the SWOT analysis, the strengths, weaknesses, etc. My first business, I didn't draft a business plan. I know I'm doing one for one of my clients last week. They're looking for almost £3 million investment, and that's important, and we need to do that. But certain businesses don't necessarily need to have a business plan. What you could do is quite simply have a chat with one of us at Pearl Accountants, or what you could do is get in touch with the QuickBooks support team, or on Facebook, or myself on 0208 5820076. You can also visit our website on www.pearlaccountants.com, and would be more than happy to have a chat. Sorry, folks, we're running out of time. So coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is Toby Milden, who's a diversity and inclusion architect and founder of Milden, a consultancy and advisory business. Toby works with businesses to re-engineer processes and systems to minimize the impact of bias and build a culture of inclusion. Tune in tomorrow and ask Toby about your burning questions. A reminder that if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. Thank you for watching, and stay safe.